Hi, everyone. Welcome to one of the first fall webinars of the Chevra L'Haganat Teva, Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel. Welcome, everybody. Oops, I don't mean to do that. I want to get out of here and see what's going on in our webinar. Um, well, I really can't see the chat or anything, but I hope you all let us know where you're from. Check in with us. Great to see everybody after a long summer hiatus. I know that we've had a couple of birding webinars so far this year. Um, awesome webinars from the field. A little early for the people on the West Coast, but we're here back at our regular time, and we'll be doing this pretty much every 2 weeks, without unless there's some sort of holiday reason why we're not. And we have a schedule, an interesting and busy webinar schedule, right up through about Tu B'Shvat of next year. So we hope you'll be with us, and we hope you'll, let us know how you're doing out there. I'm going to be talking for a while and leaving a lot of time for questions and answers. And so if you have any, you can put them on. Naama Gat, relatively new team member of ours at SPNI, is doing back office from her home in the Sharon region. Thank you, Nama. Howdy from Texas and Toronto and New York and Newton and Leicestershire. Pardon me for probably pronouncing it wrong. Well, wow, I just keep going forward with this thing. No, I don't know. Hi, Barbara. See you soon in Colorado. And always great to see the Berkshires represented, my native haunts. Grew up in Millerton, New York, right on the edge of the Berkshires on the border of Massachusetts and Connecticut. Often see people from Poughkeepsie and Dutchess County, my other side of my haunts. Hi from Johannesburg, and Haifa and Silver City, New Mexico. Sounds shiny. Been to New Mexico a couple times for work, but not to Silver City. Seattle and New Jersey and Valencia, Spain. Hola. Great to see everybody here. A I don't know, let's hope for a quiet night in Tel Aviv, where I'm coming to you from my home. My name is Jay Shofet. I'm with Chevra L'Haganat Teva for 11 years now. Um, as originally from upstate New York, as I mentioned, but in Israel almost 40 years. Uh, and you wouldn't know it from my accent in Hebrew, but it is true. Um, Thanks everybody for checking in. It's great to see everybody here. We're gonna let a few more people come in and probably get going in just a minute or two. Um, have a ambitious webinar to present to you tonight. We're gonna cover a couple different areas, and I'll give that start when we see it turn to 8:04. Hello, everybody. Um, from the Bay Area, I see, from San Francisco and Kensington. Really great to see everybody. Chattanooga, Tennessee, Pikesville. Really, really great to see such a great representation. Westchester County also feels like home to me. British Columbia, Sacramento. Hello, Leora in Sacramento. Columbus, Ohio. Great to see everybody. Winnipeg and everybody else. London. Think we're going to get going soon, or let's get going now. Um, I want to thank everybody for being here again. I want to thank all our supporters. It's been a tough year, and we appreciate the support, the financial support, but also just the engagement, people who write us and comment on our newsletters and just participating in these webinars and engaging with us. It gives us hope, and hope is what we need to be doing here in Israel today. Um, Restoring nature, renewing hope, highlights of this past year and really what's going on right now is what I'm going to do. And I'll just tell you right now, it'll be like three parts to this, 3 or 4 parts. I'm just going to take a couple slides to remind everybody why we protect Israeli nature, why Israeli nature in particular is so important to Israel, but also globally, maybe especially globally. And then we will go right into two of the topics we're going to kind of focus on a little bit today. the way we are, the devastation wreaked by the war and the fires in the north and how we're dealing with it. The south is a different story. I'm not going to really be talking about that today. I'll mention it, but for reasons that I'll be mentioning, we're going to focus on the north. The nature values there are higher. It's more complex in an ecological way, less complex in other ways, and we'll get to that. And then I want to spend the last part of the webinar, maybe a third, just reviewing kind of the main things that we do on a daily basis and what we've done this past year and in all of these crucial areas of protecting open spaces in the seas and the biodiversity of Israel. So and also teaching kids formally and informally and getting people out to nature, all part of our core business. So with that underway, under having been said, let's get it going. Now, why can't I not move it? Okay. So Israel, as many of you know, many of you probably have even seen this slide or something like it. Israel is a global biodiversity hotspot. What does that mean? It means that we have more species of flora and fauna, plants and animals intermingling in this little tiny country, in a very tiny part of that circle, about the size of New Jersey in America. And in this country, we're basically part of 2.9% of the globe that's considered a global biodiversity hotspot. And what it means is that we are this way because we're at the crucial junction between three continents. So intermingling in Israel in a really unique place. Nowhere else in the world do native species of Africa, native species of Asia, and native species of Europe intermingle. And they do here, and we have a moral and a contractual with international organizations commitment to protect this biodiversity, animals and plants, in many ways. And so it's also we're at an intersection of different climatic zones. If you spend any time in Israel, you can be skiing on the Hermon in the morning and bathing in the Red Sea and Eilat in the late afternoon. We're that small and that varied, and that makes for a very, very unique landscape. It's fun to see in Israel the world's northernmost, healthiest coral reefs in Eilat, and in the Hula Valley, the highest natural reach of papyrus in the world, if we're talking about plants. But it's true of so many of the of animal species. We have birds, of course, but mammals and reptiles, amphibians, and others. Of course, you also know, if you know anything about SPNI, that Israel sits on the bottleneck of a crucial bird migration fly route. You see it in the map on the corner. Virtually the entire bird population, the migrating bird population of Europe and Western Asia that migrates to Africa, flies right over this little tiny land bridge that is Israel-Palestine, and flies to Africa for the winter and then back over the spring. It's about 500 million birds each direction, 1 billion birds in total. This includes, as you're looking at now, and they migrate pretty much together, and they land together every evening in the hula for a couple of weeks. We're going to be hopefully seeing that incredible sensation and the mission that we're having with people from all of you folks from the States and Canada and England visiting Israel in early November, peak of the migration season. 40,000 pelicans come together and they migrate over Israel. They spend a couple of days here or a couple of weeks here refueling, and they move on, as do so many species of birds. And that is Israel's really one of SPNI's prime directives, protecting this fly route. It couldn't be more important to biodiversity. Birds are harbingers of what to come. And these birds, which come from 40 different countries in Europe and fly to 20 different countries in Africa, are responsible. They're partly responsible for the healthy ecosystems in those countries as well. And it's particularly important, this fly route, because the rest of this land bridge, wetlands and natural feeding sources have dried up over the last century, and particularly the last half century in Turkey and Syria and Iraq and Lebanon and all of the countries around here. So it's very important. So let's get right on and talk about the impact of this war. Israel's been at war in the south since October 7th. In the north, it was, I don't know, I believe a few days later, Hezbollah started its attacks. And it really went through about um, was up until several months ago that the North was pretty much closed to tens of thousands of residents who lived along the border, but also um, from even visiting. It was closed military zone. And when we first got back there, um, I can't remember what month we're talking about. I think it was around October of last year. Um, we civilians, SPNI, our staff up there, and civilians in general saw the extent of the damage. This is a sad-looking and singed golden jackal on the Golan Heights. There was a sadder picture of a group of gazelles behind a fence, agricultural fence, and you could see the fires behind them. And our director in the North, Lerone, who took the picture, says he didn't hang around. The fire was encroaching, but it's reasonable to assume that those gazelles did not survive the fires. Gazelles, as you know, are an endangered species. We're working to return them to the wild. Fires were devastating. 50, 50,000 dunums of natural area were damaged. A huge area for Israel. I know Americans or Californians are very familiar with huge damage from forest fires. Israel, unfortunately, is too. But this is and they're often man-made through careless handling of whatever anything. But these were man-made by incendiary devices landing on very dry ground and over the course of years, really stretched our fire crews. And there was a lot of heroic work to keep the fire away from civilian structures, which was largely successful. Um, so the damage to the war, other than the fires, though, the fires might not even be the worst part of it. There's another thousands of dunums of land that has been basically staging areas for the army. Here's something after they had already cleared out last October, but you can see this valley that was untouched with nothing in it except natural vegetation now has everything from a watering a reservoir because of the flooding to areas that have been severely damaged by heavy equipment, tanks, human encampments, human waste, everything that brings with, I mean, the SPNI was inundated in the days after October 7th, and we'll get to this later, but 360,000 reserve soldiers were called up. And some of these soldiers, thousands of these soldiers were said to report to bases where there were only a few dozen soldiers on the base and no room for tens of thousands of soldiers. So a lot of them wound up sleeping in all kinds of places, including our field schools. And we began to see up close the kind of the way when armies move with battalions, just the way they move and the way they have to stage is hugely damaging to nature. A lot of roads were blazed, routes were opened, for trucks and tanks all over the Galilee. You don't see it as much from the roads as you see the fires when you're traveling around up there, but in the natural areas, they just took whatever shortcut they could, and for security reasons, nobody's blaming them or anything. But there was a lot of damage done, and some of that will take a long time to repair. And that is why we are working closely with the Army on the environmentally sensitive restoration of the North and South. And this next picture, some of you will recognize Amir Balaban, who, as part of his reserve duty in the South, this was taken, I don't know, less than a year into the war in the Gaza envelope. You can see they're looking at the map they're looking at there is shows down towards Gaza. And we have been working with the IDF around the edges where we could, because of our connections, because of what we do, to try to minimize damage where we could of just their staging areas and their non-combat related activities inside of Israel. Um, and we were already beginning to work with local authorities, anticipating the rebuild. Most of the damage, of course, to the Gaza envelope communities was caused on October 7th and 8th, and those communities have been damaged in many places. The complexities of restoring those kibbutzim, rebuilding them, and what's happening there is a whole nother webinar. It's very complex, And truthfully, the nature values, although nature is beautiful down there, dromedome, the poppies and the anemones that bloom, being near nature is why people live there in the first place. But that nature is more resilient. It'll come back quicker. It's less complicated. In the north, the topography and the nature of the biodiversity make it a much more difficult restoration project. And actually more doable because of the political interest involved in what's going on in the South. Um, in the North, we are working really almost as a subcontractor of the government. We're a subcontractor of the Joint. It's called Joint ELCA. So sort of their social welfare arm of the Joint Distribution Committee, which I'm sure many of you in the abroad know about. And they have a big presence in Israel. And we are working with them to on habitat restoration using ecosystem-focused approach. It's called the Tnufa Authority. In the south, it's Tkuma. Revival. In the north, it's Tnufa. Schwung, the Schwung Authority. Acceleration. And that authority is overseeing kind of holistically trying to, without enough budget, oversee work on several levels, the economic rebirth of the North, the social welfare and social infrastructures, but the physical infrastructures as well, and of course the environmental space. And we are basically working to promote master plans for the restoration and management of all those open spaces in the Galilee, across the entire Galilee line, in the Golan as well. And we're walking with the local authorities, with the kibbutzim, the moshavim, the cities, and we've already received quite a bit of funding from this from the Open Spaces Conservation Fund. That is a fund that we helped statutorily create. It's part of the Israel Lands Authority. Israel Lands Authority is essentially the company that leases land on behalf of the government of Israel. They're taking a lot of money every year, and one promille, 1/1000th of their income every year is devoted towards open space protection, based on a law we promulgated over a couple decades ago. And now, I mean, we don't always get money from it, but we've been getting some funding both for the wetlands rewilding that we'll talk about, and especially for this work in the north, which is so crucial these days. Our vision. Our vision for what'll happen and, bring back better. My daughter lives in the kibbutz Kfar Sold in the north. They were evacuated on October 8th and just came back about a month ago. And so I see up close what's going on there. There's among the people that are back, and not everybody's back. Many are, most are, but not everybody. Some people have come up there for the first time. It's kind of like build back better. Everybody wants the Galilees felt like the Northern Galilee felt like it was on the edge of a Tnufa. It really had developed, and it's a beautiful place. There's no place like it in Israel. Don't everybody hurry there, but if you're looking for flowing water and green, lush vegetation in Israel, that's pretty much the only place to find it. And it's really but the life has gotten easier up there as well. And better roads and trains are coming. It's easier to get to the center of the country. So we want to restore the natural ecosystems, of course, strengthen ecological connectivity. Those ecological corridors, we'll talk about in a second, are crucial. Public access, I mean, of course, public transportation I just mentioned too, and transportation to the north is crucial. But within the north, hiking trails, bike paths, information centers, getting people to walk around more, to use bikes. Ecological and community tourism. Tourism infrastructure is crucial in the north. It's one of the biggest income sources of the north, both tourists from Israel and especially from abroad, and the regional economy as well. Arel Margalit and others have been trying to position Kiryat Shmona and the northern tier there as a national growth hub for innovation. Tel Chai is now becoming a university. The college up there in Kiryat Shmona, and there's a lot of positive energy going on in the north, and I'm particularly excited about it on the personal but also educational note. My daughter has been involved. My grandkids were in anthroposophic gone before October 7th. That closed for good, but the NGO that ran it still exists. My daughter basically took it over and has been full time trying to create an anthroposophic school in the north, in among the kibbutzim or in Kiryat Shmona. And it looks like it's happening. She managed to create a gan this year. So my uh, 3-year-old grandson's in a gan. The 7-year-old's in democratic school. There's a lot of choices in education, even in the the relatively sparsely populated area of the north. Um, but uh, but with the mayor of it's really the first anthroposophic school. I think you call it Waldorf school system, opened in a development town in Israel, not in a city or among the kibbutzim. So there's that. I think I find that a very hopeful. Diversity in education is one of the things that's going to bring a strong population to the Galilee, and that looks like it's happening. And now we get to Israel's mental health crisis. I mean, I don't know. It used to be making headlines a year ago, and now I think we've just settled into accepting it. But but every day there's items on the news about just today I read the Army and is estimated that 55% of its wounded soldiers are also suffering from PTSD, and there have been thousands of soldiers wounded in this war. The circles of PTSD from right from October 7th, so few Israelis were not touched by this. Uh, Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people immediately displaced from the north and the south. And just now in the war with Iran, Modi, the comedian, calls it Israel's babushka war. So it was the war within the war, the 12-day war, as they call it. That put another 40,000 Israeli families homeless, mostly from Tel Aviv, Bat Yam, Holon, Rishon. So the circles of the trauma of being displaced, not to mention the deaths and the hostages. And I mean, I have to mention the hostages. I think at some level, Israel's mental health crisis will never be fully solved until the hostages are home and we know the fate of all the hostages that have fallen. Everybody says that. That's not just me. And it's sort of in the back of everybody's mind, the front of everybody's mind, the families. And it's getting more and more intense. And with the what the recent news has not been hopeful. But just in terms of numbers, and these I remember these numbers from a year ago. They haven't changed. Spike of 100% in prescription drugs, spike of over 100% in non-prescription rescue remedy type therapy, things like that. Huge spike in illicit drug use, kids trying all kinds of drugs for the first time. Smoking has skyrocketed. I haven't actually seen numbers on that, but so many people I know had given up smoking and have started smoking again. People smoke more. Talking about cigarettes. Um, and the mental health crisis is crucial, and the authorities are talking about it. There have been, I don't know, I think 64 suicides from soldiers or released soldiers since the war broke out. It's a huge crisis, and Israel had a shortage of mental health professionals before October 7th, and it had a traumatized population. Anybody that grew up, any 20-year-old who grew up in the Gaza envelope grew up running to bomb shelters with sirens, intermittently their entire lives. So the mental health crisis is huge and cruel and honest, and we're probably only at the beginning of it. Um, we're certainly not at the end of the war yet. So we developed Nature Heals ecotherapy programs. It occurred to us, we just put the science behind what we've always known, which is that being in nature makes people feel better. Uh, it's a scientifically proven fact that being in nature, it raises your dopamine and your serotonin. It lowers your cortisol. It relieves symptoms of depression, anxiety. It calms you down. We've always done it. The Japanese have been doing forest bathing for millennia. And in America, 35 states, family doctors can write prescriptions for free entry into state parks as part of a mental health program for people who they feel need it. Um, so it's a thing, and the director of mental health in Israel's Ministry of Health, Dr. Gidon Bodenheimer, has been saying since 3 months after the war started that it is crucial for Israel to develop alternative methods of therapy and helping people because we just don't have enough mental health professionals. the shortage is palpable now. So what we did in the beginning, so I implied this before. We opened our field schools. Some of them were filled with were filled from, I'm talking about from October 8th. Were filled, and we have 9 field schools around the country, which have about, I think, a total of about 500 rooms, and we took in people from who were fleeing in those first days from the south, from the Gaza envelope, just whole families just with nothing on their backs, and we let them stay there for free, of course, and we provided all kinds of services. And one of the services we provided was getting people just out to nature. That's what the field schools are for. And we all of our gap year students and the young madrichim that we have, the young guides, everybody was called back from any vacations, and for a couple months, we just intensively had hundreds and thousands of people in these field schools, and we were taking them out to nature as much as we can. And we saw this science, we knew this science, and we started developing more sophisticated programs than just getting people out into nature. We developed basically a resilience program. We call it Masaot Chosen, resilience journeys. And as the war developed, this was happening only towards the end of 2024, after we managed to consult with wilderness educators and mental health professionals and our own educators, and we have many in SPNI, tens of professional educators and educators in outdoor education. We developed these incredibly interesting 4-day resilience camps, really, resilience hikes, an experience that they equip the kids with social emotional tools, help build their resilience to bounce back now and whenever. And we've been doing ongoing assessments of this program, getting feedback, 360 feedback from the kids, from the parents, from the educators. We take kids. Originally, we were taking them in their organic school groups, and sometimes that meant taking kids who would spread from schools somewhere in the Tanya and somewhere in the Dead Sea, somewhere in Eilat, but we brought classes together for the first time. Been doing this for a year. We've done this with about 1,200 kids so far. We want to double that this coming year, but it's expensive, and we've been raising money for that, and part of a campaign that we're doing right now, in fact. I'm sure many of you have seen it. There'll be an opportunity to donate at the last slide here as well. But it's as much as we can. We want to get these kids out to nature. Just a word about what we do there. There's sort of like four main elements to these 4 days. The first is active participation. Kids got to participate. Sometimes they role play to look at other to see how other types of people react. Challenges and choice. We do age-appropriate skill-building activities, things that keep them active and build their confidence and build their sense of their own capabilities. We push boundaries with them. We do some survival training, foraging, building a fire, pitching a tent in the wilderness, all of this stuff, age-appropriate, and we make them push their boundaries. And the physical challenges of the trip get more challenging over the 4 days. And the final thing is open discourse. There's conversations every night, sometimes in the middle of the day, with the groups. Groups of 40 kids are usually divided into 2 groups of 20, each with their own 2 madrichim, a senior one and a more junior one, and they talk about their emotions. We use SEL techniques, social emotional learning, and it really helps the kids process what they're going through in these days, and in many cases, of course, what's been happening over the last 2 years, basically here. So that's our resilience journeys. Here's a little, and I forgot to mention, one of the things that underlies these entire journeys, we're using this technique, very popular in Israel, haven't come across it so much in the States, Daku activism, the concept that every kid has in his hand a video camera and can film as an activist would, and for all kinds of purposes. And so the kids give up their phones during the day on these trips, but every day, two or three kids are given a camera and they're told to film various themes, film a challenge, film people helping people, film beautiful nature, whatever. And in the end, these things are professionally these instead of getting a photo album with 90 million photos uploaded from the kids, every kid gets I believe it's like a 15-minute professionally edited video of these all 4 days of filming by, I don't know, a total of 10 of the kids of the group. So very interesting. A lot of kids speak of these things have been very interesting. This is just a 3-minute clip. I don't think really from these. Um, Hopefully it'll work here. 3-minute video. Oh, okay, on YouTube.
אני חושב ששקט זה הפתרון. יש לנו חסך מאוד גדול, הרבה זמן לא היה לנו את האופציה להיות ביחד. אין לי כוח לאף אחד יותר? תפנו, טבע. אני מרגיש שהטבע תן לי איזה משהו כזה חדש, קצת להתנתק מהעולם הטכנולוגי שאנחנו חיים בו ולהסתכל על היופי המטורף הזה שפה מאחוריי. יש בזה משהו שנותן לך כזה נשימה הקלה טובה כזאת, כאילו המקום שאנחנו באים ממנו עד עכשיו עם המלחמה לא היה מה לעשות, זה כאילו היה אזעקות והכל היו פיצוצים, ופה אין את זה, זה לרגע לצאת מהעולם, לברוח מהעולם ולהיכנס לעולם אחר.
מרגישה שהצפון יחזור? כן, אני 100% חושבת שכן. אני חושבת שאפילו אנשים יבואו בשאיפה הרבה יותר גדולה, כי ברגע שהם ידעו משהו שחשוב להם, כל בן אדם שמבין משהו שחשוב לו, הוא כאילו לא מעריך כמו שהוא העריך שהיה לו את זה ביד. ברגע שאנשים איבדו את הבית שלהם, ואיבדו את הצפון, ואיבדו את הנחל, ואיבדו את המקום הבטוח שלהם, אני חושבת שיבואו בפול על 200% ויבואו וילחמו יותר על הבית שלהם, וינסו לשקם אותו הרבה יותר. את מרגישה שהשתנה בך משהו במסע? כן, אני יודעת לאבא, אחרי שכן נשארתי מסלול אחד, שאני כן יכולה בסוף למתוח את הגבולות שלי, ואני כן יכולה לצאת לטיולים, ואני גם אצא לטיול שנתי השנה. מה שאנחנו הולכים לעשות עכשיו, זה קצת להכיר את השמיים. ואני תמיד מרגישה שזה זכות להעביר משהו שלי הוא נורא בוער בעורקים לאנשים אחרים. ואם אני מצליחה להדליק מישהו, אז מבחינתי זה ממש כזה הצלחה.
כל המסע הזה הוא מאוד נראה לי מתעסק בלהחזיר רגע את הגבולות ואת הפרופורציה לחיים. כאילו להבין שאולי הדברים התפרקו בשנים האלה, במלחמה ובקורונה, דברים שהתפרקו, אבל עכשיו אנחנו שנייה מסתכלים על דברים שעדיין
No way, really?
יכולים להאחז בהם.
Oh my God, why didn't you tell me? Oh my God. Shit. I guess everybody's hearing it. Sorry, Larry, guys. I realized you're not seeing the video. I thought for sure you were seeing the video. Can you play it, Nama? Should I try again? I don't know how to stop it. Oh, I can't believe it. I'm saying. I'm so sorry, guys.
לעשות גששות על איזה אבן ולראות את הנוף הזה ולא אוקיי יפה ובוא נמשיך אלא להתעמק בו ולתת לו שנייה לחדור לתוך הלב.
חשוב לי להגיד, חבר'ה, תצאו לטבע, הטבע מרפא, הטבע ייתן לכם תשובות, ייתן לכם נחת ושלווה ותשמרו עליו, כי הוא הכי טוב שיש, הפסיכולוג הכי טוב שיש. ביי!
Jay, do you want me to?
Yeah, can you try to do it? I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, guys. Oh,
Is this okay?
we see it, yep. It's not starting though.
Yeah, I know. sorry.
It's a good video. Worked when we tried it.
Yeah.
It's moving, but we don't hear anything. Nama.
Is it audible?
Wait, it started to be. It's choppy though. Yeah, now we hear it. If you go back to the beginning. Don't hear anything yet. Oh, it's that we don't hear anything.
That's very, I don't know.
Wait, maybe from here we do. Is your volume up? I don't understand. We hear it very low. Okay, I can leave it. Maybe the next section is different. Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can watch it on your own. Thank you, Nancy. Well, we'll recommend it. We'll send it out. We'll send out the link from YouTube. All right. Now, Matt, stop sharing and now let me share again.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, everybody. The best laid plans. Okay. Okay, so that was, should I try it one more time? Just for the heck of it? Whatever, I'm not going to. We're going to move on. Right, and just so the final slide, I think about resilience journeys. We had a very dramatic one. It was written up in some newspapers and websites. It was the first one we took Druze youth from Majd al-Shams. All of them knew this. Majd al-Shams is a village of 10,000 people, and everybody knew some of the 12 children who were tragically killed on a soccer field by a Hezbollah rocket. And we have Arabic speaking guides and really an emotional journey with these kids. And this one quote is, just one of the many, many quotes. And our guides' WhatsApps are filled with parents and kids who are just really, really positively, emotionally affected by these trips. It's really one of the most fulfilling things that I think we do as a staff in SPNI. And it's really so many of the people in our education department and our marketing department and our development department, but also our nature protection department. It's a national organizational wide effort that we're doing to get as many kids on these journeys, these resilience journeys, out to nature as much as possible, and as many kids as possible. And now I'm going to talk. Okay, I'm going to try to finish up in the next 10 minutes. So we're going to run through a lot of slides just to update you on what's been going on in the kind of four areas of environment that we work in, or the four areas of society that we work in. And the first and most important is startup nature. Many of you know this. We are recreating a network of world-class wildlife sanctuaries around Israel. Israel was founded. Israel was founded on the draining of the swamps, and SPNI was founded on the protest against the draining of the Hula Lake at the time. It wasn't even really a swamp, it was a lake. We knew, Kibbutznikim and some scientists at the time knew in 1953 that was going to be ecological folly. They were correct. Partly the Hula has been reflooded, and that's the incredible Agamona Hula that our group will be visiting in November, and is one of the most important bird migration hotspots in the world, a must-see for any birders. Those are the Hula wetlands. But Israel, what we had done, our Mankal, our CEO, Dan Alone, 5-6 years ago, just came up with the idea and is now implementing it, first with a initial support of a group of very, very precious Canadian donors from Toronto, the Goldberg Group, and later and in recent years with support from all kinds of public sector institutions in Israel and foundations and donors from around the world. And what we are doing is we are taking, the idea was, who could ever rewild wetlands in an area that's so dry and so dense? Well, a lot of these wetlands were had built on them. They were drained in order to form fish farming, agricultural fish ponds. And Dan looked at that. These are becoming less profitable. The kibbutzim are looking for what to do with this land. It's swampland, basically, that they have to either keep wet or pump water out of. So it's perfect. And we worked out all kinds of, as we say in Israel, kombina, where we lease the land from the kibbutzim, the Ministry of Agriculture. It's zoned for agriculture. So the Ministry of Agriculture lets us grow nature. And we want to rewild 30% of all of Israel's lost wetlands. 50,000 acres. We want to see 15,000, 20,000 of them restored as wetlands, both for local biodiversity and especially to support the bird migration fly route. And it's worth pointing out, these are classic nature-based solutions to mitigating and adapting from climate change. It turns out the wetlands in their biomass, in the water, on the water, under the water, on the land, absorbs more carbon, more CO2 per acre than any habitats on Earth except rainforests. And they do it very quickly. They're restored very quickly. And that is it's a huge carbon sink. It cools down the atmosphere. And of course, biodiversity and keeping habitats healthy is and it's increasingly recognized as one of the first, best, least expensive ways to mitigate climate change. Healthy habitats and climate change are a circle which they can spiral down, or they can, or healthy wetlands and healthy climates in general, healthy habitats in general can help stave and slow down and mitigate the effects of climate change. As you've seen this bird migration fly route before, but these wetlands are incredible stopover sites for the birds. We were blown away, Kfar Rupin on the Jordan River, and we're doing this in all kinds of ecosystems in Israel as well. Kfar Rupin in the Jordan Valley, our first site in 2021, within 3 weeks of finishing replacing the polluted, antibiotics-filled, pesticides-filled fish water growing for fish. We filled it with fresh water from a local spring that had been feeding the fish ponds, and within a couple of months, we saw 230 species of birds there during migration season, and it's better and better in terms of local biodiversity and in terms of spreading out the migrating avian population, giving them more places to land and feed and refuel on their arduous journey from Europe, as you see, down to Africa and back, where they're either their first stop on their way back over the Sahara and Arabian deserts, or where their last stop before they have to fly over them. And that's why it's so crucial. And this has been a huge success and really changing the conservation toolkit in Israel and with global implications as well. The main thing we do, I'm going to run through these really quick. I see I really want to leave time. Are there questions? If you want to ask questions, put them in the Q&A if you can, and I'll see them and get to them. I always like to paraphrase Bill Clinton's 1992 election campaign slogan. It's "the economy, stupid." I don't think that was his official slogan, but that was very associated with him. It's about land use planning. Nobody's stupid, but it's about land use planning. It's about how we designate land for use. And therefore, my boss, Dan Alone, likes to say, when asked what's our biggest success over 70 years, founded in 1953, our biggest success has been an untold number of unsustainable development plans that we've curtailed and sustainable development plans that we've advanced in terms of housing, infrastructure, industry, and especially nature reserves and national parks, which give statutory protection to open spaces. but also in agricultural lands. And you can see on the right side of the picture the green spaces, which is there's open spaces, and how ecological corridors that connect them, the connectivity between these spaces allows for populations not to inbreed, and they can reach feeding areas. Crucial to keep these corridors open is one of the things we do. You see a beautiful swamp cat here. This is like, it's called a chatul beitzot in Hebrew, but a jungle cat in English. They're native species. They're just like kind of really big house cats. The kind, we joke if your house cat could eat you, it would. These are like, they're not much bigger, but wow, they're very cool animals. Let's see what else we got here. Why are we not moving? Okay, protecting the seas. You all know this is one of our big things. Our unit that does this, it's called the Blue Half, because as you know, when you take into account Israel's economic waters and territorial waters, in other words, territorial waters of Israel go out just 10 kilometers, but the economic waters go out 40 kilometers. So that 40-kilometer stretch is about as wide as Israel is for most of it. If you look at the map of our economic waters, you see that half of the map is land and half of the map is water. So protecting the Mediterranean is crucial. The Red Sea as well. Such unique ecosystems in both places. Our end of the Mediterranean is shallow and warming at a faster rate. And the biodiversity that's here is extremely vulnerable. We've advocated and really changed the whole fishing regulation system in Israel, and are continuing to do that this year. We've had all kinds of battles to create marine protected areas, which we've succeeded in doing, and now to keep drilling out of both the Dead Sea and especially the Red Sea, where the coral reefs are so crucial. I mentioned earlier, these are the healthiest, northernmost coral reefs in the world, except for a very small bleaching episode last summer when there was like, I don't know, 10 days of over 100-degree temperatures. There have been very little bleaching of these corals. The threats, though, are pollution and especially oil spills, because there's already, because since the Abraham Accords started, UAE oil is being transferred through a pretty small volume at the moment, but this government has been trying very hard to increase the volume, increase the port size of Eilat. And we know that oil tankers, it's not a question of if they leak, it's a question of when they leak. And in this little tiny, small, enclosed Gulf of Eilat that is our natural wonderland, any oil spill would be devastating. So that's just a crucial thing. We're working on the science, and we're working on the advocacy as well. Now we have a legal team. We have a legal staff, a legal department in SPNI that helps write laws. We have a full-time lobbyist in the Knesset. We have another lobby team on retainer, and we work with government ministries and local authorities, City of Eilat, for example, on the Red Sea and the Dead Sea. I didn't mention, but that's crucial. We're trying to get water into the Jordan River. Replenish fresh water in the Jordan River is the only way to save the Dead Sea. It's another whole big program we're probably beginning to do more seriously now, and you'll hear more about that in the future. Caring for the birds, I already mentioned, this is the Jerusalem Bird Observatory and a happy group from our mission, Mir Balaban. They bird ringing, where they catch birds in nets, do not harm them, and you put a ring on them, or if they have a ring on them, see where they were banded. Learn a lot about birds that way. I would say next to ecological corridors, or a way to keep ecological corridors preserved, is to keep cities densely, develop cities densely. The more densely you develop a city, the more open space you save around the city's edges and in general. And Israel already has a pretty good record of dense cities. Tel Aviv's population of about 420,000 people. It has more skyscrapers per capita than any city in the world. And think about it, a city in America. I mean, this is an old picture of Tel Aviv, and since this picture was taken a few years ago, there's many more skyscrapers in this picture. Tel Aviv has several skyscrapers that are over 80 stories. There's a couple of 90-story skyscrapers being built, and we're building up. And it's one of our mottos, because a lot of our staff, our headquarters in Tel Aviv, a lot of our staff live in the area. Ohev Teva Chai Be'ir. I love nature. I live in the city, and I don't know. I'm particularly an urban creature myself, and Tel Aviv is a great city and growing very smart. Israel has a bunch of cities that are really growing according to good planning and sustainability principles. Environmental advocacy, policy, and planning. This is the Gazelle Valley. Everybody, if you haven't been there and you've been in Israel, you're missing a lot. Definitely make it a part of your. We breed gazelles. We turn them to the wild. It's a 50-acre site in the heart of Jerusalem, open day to us. We activate the public. We do that locally in groups, in person, and we also have an app. We have a couple apps, but most important is called Sea Watch. If I talk about protecting the Dead Sea, this is a very popular app among users of the sea. People on SAPs and kayaks and swimmers and divers. Anytime you see an environmental problem, hazard, anything from ghost nets floating around to dead fish washed up or anything, you report on these app, and we either take care of it or know who to refer it to. Just one of the things that we do. Mindful tree planting. Wow. Afforestation is really not a we kind of feel Israel's filled up with its forests. Israel's been doing a lot of planting of the wrong trees in the wrong places for a century now. Most of Israel is a natural scrubland, Mediterranean grasslands, not wooded areas. I mean, not forested areas, some woodlands, but not real forests. But we do plant native trees in our sites and on our field schools to attract birds and wildlife, provide shade, and of course in our we plant indigenous vegetation in our rewilded wetland sites. We cooperate across borders, at least we used to. Barn owls is biological pest control, is something that we did with the Palestinians and Jordanians and spread around the Mediterranean basin. We also converted empty bunkers of the Israeli and Jordanian armed forces on both sides of the Jordan River in the late 90s already to bunkers for bats. Hung up some wires, and the bats breed there, acting as insectivore, they're insectivore bats, and they act as biological pest control for farmers' crops on both sides of the Jordan. Formal and informal education, it's our biggest program. We touch tens of thousands of kids a year in all kinds of formal and educational programs, including in our field schools, hostels in nature all around the country. They're being renovated slowly, and some of them are quite nice now. I mean, they're Spartan, but they're beautiful and in nature, and a lot of families and certainly hikers love those places. And we promote ecotourism, and that's how we're ending. I just want to let everybody know we do that in Israel among school groups. We're also having a whole menu of English language programs are on our website, day trips in Israel throughout the fall and beyond. And a couple times a year, we're going to be bringing over missions to Israel. This one in November might be full, I'm not sure, coming November 2nd. But there'll be another one in March. We'll be promoting that soon, doing all kinds of behind the scenes nature stuff. And I mentioned before, we're raising money for Nature Heals programs for those resilience journeys, Masot HaChosen. You can scan the QR code and donate. Appreciate donations of any type. Appreciate your being here and your engagement and your caring about these issues. So thank you all very, very much. Let me stop screen sharing and say goodbye. Do we have some questions? We have one question I see here. Okay. Why are they specifically called out in your vision? What vision were they not called out in? I think that was the vision for the ecological restoration of the North. But resilience activities are a core of our activities. I know my bosses and the heads of the education unit are eagerly trying to raise money, not just to hear what we can do in my unit philanthropically, but from public sector sources in Israel as well. And there's a lot of recognition of the need for this kind of thing. So I think, but the money, a lot of the Jewish Federations of North America, for example, seem to have moved on because they gave us quite a bit of money in 2024, but now a few federations are giving us smaller amounts. But I don't know, the problems just keep piling up and they're getting overwhelming, and getting kids out to nature feels like it's not the priority that it was last year. Even though it's more important a priority, I think, than ever. I think there's more kids who need it than ever. How do we interact with the Nature Parks Authority? We interact closely with them on a day-to-day basis. The NPA statutory group that we created in 1963. We were around for 10 years. We drew up the first plans for those first two nature reserves, and then we created the Nature and Parks Authority. They're in charge of both the nature reserves and national parks, both of which give statutory protection. And we have great relations with them. In the last 2 to 3 years, they've been headed by a professional as opposed to a political appointee who'd been there for 15 years. They're a professional group. They're huge. They're much bigger than us in budgets and in staff. I think we don't really have any major disputes with them. They're partners to us in the rewilding, and they're partners in education and hadracha work. And the Kakal is the other big group, calls itself environmental, the Jewish National Fund. That's much more problematic relationship with them, because although they think of themselves as an environmental group, they're really a real estate development corporation that owns 12% of the land of Israel and leases it. Some of it is forests, and that's how we interact with them. But and there's a lot of other pro-environmental groups. We're the behemoths on the scene, and right now we're working with a group of funders to create a national master plan for the environmental movement in general. This is something that we're just kind of getting underway now. It'll be a major program, and a group of funders have basically promised from the Jewish Climate Trust in the States, it's a group of funders itself, and other funders from other places in the world are promising a lot of money for capacity building and for some real attempts at climate mitigation and adaptation. And we'll be working with, there's sort of 6 core groups that are part of this. Life and Environment, the umbrella group, Dam Teva V'Din, the Israel Union for Environmental Defense, Heschel, the Heschel Center for Sustainability, and a few other groups, and there'll be many groups involved. And this is an exciting moment for cooperation in the environmental movement. So thank you. We got 4 minutes left. I just will use it to thank everybody one more time. I appreciate everybody being here from all over, and your comments and your feedback here that I can see. Yeah, we will be sending out. We have here. We put the link of the YouTube here. If you can take it from the chat, or we will be sending it out as well. This will be recorded and online by tomorrow, I assume. And that's it. I wish everybody well in their various places around the globe. Doesn't feel easy in the States at the moment, and I know our friends in Canada and the UK are sometimes not having an easy time. But we are encouraged by everybody's support, and in Israel, we are continuing to work for the common ground, the literal common ground, those open spaces and the ecological corridors and the rewilded wetlands, the new nature that we are restoring and the old nature that we're preserving. All of that is what's crucial for us, and that's what will get us through this, and that'll be crucial as we go forward to build back the communities in the north and the south. Thanks everybody for being here. We'll be back in 2 weeks. I forget what the webinar is, but we'll be advertising it, and it's probably already online. And I'll be in the States for the month of October. If you're from the Bay Area, Denver, Boulder, the Research Triangle in North Carolina, or Greater New York City, let me know if you'd like to meet. See if I can work it out on my schedule. So thanks so much. Thanks everybody for the feedback and for being here. And thank you, Naama, for work. And I'm so sorry about the technical glitch. I hate when that happens. I can't believe we're 5 years after COVID. It's still happening, but I'm rusty. Sorry, but everybody should check out that video on YouTube. Thank you all very much. Laila Tov and Lihitrot.